there, it's Jenny B from vitalitybyjenny.com, and we are back from vacation. I'm very excited to be home again, and today we are going to talk about paleo diets and if we should be looking to the past, looking to our ancestors for what we eat today in the modern world. So this is going to be, hi honey. Oh, honey, yes. Goodness. So this is going to be a fun little discussion. So the paleo diet is a very popular diet right now, and what they would say in this diet is that we should look back to what our ancestors ate, coming from the Paleolithic area, hence the paleo diet, to let us know what we should be eating today. That's a good indicator of what we should still be eating. And so they suggest that you eat a diet of meat and vegetables with some fruits, and of course stay away from processed foods, grains, and the like. So let's kind of look at this a little bit. So first off, as with anything, as with any study, and especially nutrition, but any other field of science, any other thing that you can kind of think about, there's always different opinions, always one end of the spectrum to the other, and things in between. So when we look back at our Paleolithic diet, what actually our ancestors ate in the Paleolithic diet, experts don't come to a consensus here. So a lot of them think that we ate a diet of fruits and nuts. Another section of them think that we ate almost all meat with just a little bit of berries and stuff to top it off. And then another section thinks that we were scavengers and that we would just go behind lions after they've killed an animal and eat what was left over. And so, you know, this is always kind of an issue, is who do you believe or who do you choose to follow, right? Because we don't know 100% what we were eating in the Paleolithic era. So that throws a little chink in the chain here for the, you know, paleo diet, is just even knowing 100% what we were even eating there then. But that's not even really an issue, knowing what we were eating then, because the real question is, should we be choosing to eat the same foods that we were eating then, now, in our world now? So, one, back in the Paleolithic era, humans didn't live to be that old. I think the average age of a caveman, a Paleolithic man, was in the 30s, possibly. I can't remember exactly the age right now, but it wasn't old. Okay, so if you want to live to be, you know, well past 50, 60, 70, and 80, then perhaps this concept of eating based on what we were eating in the past isn't what you were looking for. So if we don't have conclusive scientific evidence of what they were eating in the Paleolithic era, and we also do not have very clear scientific evidence of what the best diet is in our modern world today, because of a plethora of reasons, but because, you know, a lot of the scientific evidence has been skewed by people who have money involved in all of these scientific studies. So if we don't have the scientific evidence, then what else can we use to figure out how we should be eating? And for me, the thing that has resonated the most for me is to use what feels like my common sense, you know, just what feels like would be true regardless of science. So the way that I like to go about it is to imagine myself in the Paleolithic era, but in a situation where I had all of the foods available to me. If I have fruits, nuts, vegetables, meat, you know, meat in the form of animals running around, grains and beans, you know, all of these foods are in abundance around me. What would I choose to eat? What would a 2-year-old, what would a 3-year-old choose to eat if they had all of that around them? And I think the answer is that we know they would go for the fruit. I know I would go for the fruit. Number one, it's easy. It's delicious. I don't have to do anything to it. I don't have to chase it down. It's not going to chase me. I don't have to rip it apart. I don't have to worry about blood and guts or hair or fur and all that nasty stuff, you know? All I have to do is walk up to a tree, pick it, and eat it. And, I mean, that concept alone has been one of the biggest reasons why I have maintained and my belief in a low-fat, raw vegan diet, because that is the food that I would eat if I had everything around me in the wild. You know, the way, of course, the way that it's set up now in our world, it's too easy to choose other foods because of the excitotoxins, all the salts and peppers, seasonings, this and that, you know, and not to mention that we are brainwashed by advertisements and, you know, all kinds of media to eat a certain way, and that our whole culture eats a certain way. But if you could imagine yourself away from all of that and just surrounded by those foods the way that they come in nature, I mean, it's common sense to me that we would choose the fruit. We may eat some nuts and seeds. I don't know if we could get them cracked open the way that they come these days, you know. Having to open them would be a little bit difficult. We may eat some green leafy vegetables. We may eat some other vegetables even if we found them and they seemed appealing to us at the time. But the majority of what we would go after would be the fruit. And so to me it just seems to be common sense to look back at the Paleolithic era in that way and use that knowledge that I've gained just from my own going inside and thinking and feeling, you know, to determine any type of dietary choice from there on out. And now, so has anything changed from back then till now, you know, in the terms of, is fruit still all we should be eating? Because our digestive tracts, our digestive systems are very similar to that of monkeys and apes. I mean, I don't know of anything that's that terribly different, except for there are a few monkeys who have a little bit different stomachs than we do. But in general, our digestive systems are just like the monkeys. And the monkeys eat mostly a diet of fruits and nuts and some vegetable matter, and of course some insects and some other mammals, but this is like less than 1%, or so, you know, most of them. So it's not hardly anything. It's more like a rare treat to eat an animal product than it is to eat the rest of the vegetable fruit matter. In the Paleolithic era, it's safe to say pretty much that our digestive tracts were similar to monkeys back then even. And so there has been some scientific evidence that we've had some changes in some of our people's digestive tracts to help them digest certain foods. So there are some cultures who have grown up for thousands of years with eating milk, and so they developed the ability to digest milk into adulthood, whereas it normally, after the age of 3, we don't really have the ability, or you know, after being a baby and weaning from your mother, you don't have the ability to digest the milk anymore, and so it causes issues. There's some cultures who have developed this ability. There's other cultures who have developed the ability to digest starch more efficiently. And I mean, that is because we were such heavy into agriculture, and we relied on these foods in times of scarcity to get us through. And so some people actually can digest starch better than others. And so there's all these slight differences, but these are very slight differences in between different peoples that in those eras they would allow you to survive a little better than someone who on those foods than someone who didn't have those adaptations. But that doesn't mean that our system is any less adapted to fruit. We still have a digestive system that is fine-tuned to eat fruit. So really, we haven't changed since the Paleolithic era. Our digestive systems are still very, very, very similar to what they were like back then, as far as we know, of course. But the one thing that has changed from the Paleo era till now is the types of fruits that are available. And so back then, fruit was less sweet and had more minerals in it, more nutrients altogether. And now, based upon the way that we breed, hybridize our fruits and all of this stuff, our fruits are actually bred to be much sweeter, and they are grown on, you know, nutrient depleted soils and that sort of a thing, to where now they have more sugar, less nutrients. And so the only thing that we really need to adjust is adding in those other nutrients that we've lost, so mostly the minerals. And so how do we do that? We add in greens. And so fruit, greens is the perfect pair for a modern diet. Key is this modern diet, perfect for our modern world, that is going to give you energy, help you to be at your perfect weight, and happiness all day long. So I hope I made my point a little bit clear here about why I feel like looking at the past, looking at the Paleolithic era, or at any other era for that matter, for our best diet for our modern times is maybe not the best idea altogether. So use the past to gather knowledge that you can use in your modern day world to develop a modern day diet, but do not think that we should be eating how our ancestors were eating in the Paleolithic era, when their whole environment was completely different than the one that we're in right now. Our ancestors back then didn't have access to all the foods that we have access to now, and they were faced with situations where they had little to no food that they would normally eat, and so they had to choose among other foods that are second best. And so now we are not in that situation. We're no longer in that type of a situation. Right now you can access food from all over the world. We have all types of fruits available all year round. So the type of situation that we're in now is completely different from back then. We don't have to choose second-rate foods anymore. We can choose the best foods for our body every day, all day, if we want. And that's what I encourage you to do. So I recommend definitely that today you get started on a low-fat, high-raw vegan diet full of fruits and greens. Lots of fruits, lots of greens. However much you want to eat of the greens is fine, but lots and lots and lots of fruits. This is what our bodies are designed for. This is what's going to make you feel the best. So go ahead and get started on that, and then email me and let me know how amazing your life has turned out afterwards. And if you would like a free recipe ebook that will help you get started eating this type of diet, then just jump on over to www.happysexyhealthy.net, and there's a free recipe ebook waiting for you right there. I love you guys. I will see you soon.